though we've only met one time. But I'm joined today by Morgan from Emo Night LA. How you doing, man?
I consider us good friends because of the Tucson thing.
Yeah, I was gonna touch base on that because you are. I mean, you're from Tucson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from New York, but I mean, I moved to Tucson when I was like 12 or 13 or so. You know, all of your formative years where you're just like where you make all your friends and make all your bad decisions and go to
Like
jail
the
and shit
year,
like that.
the years where you fuck up, and then like that
Yeah,
decides who you are as an adult.
that's like where I formed into being who I am. So I think and everybody's like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm from Tucson." Is where so like anybody, I've got like a Tucson connection. Anybody that is from there, I'm like, yeah, we're close friends. So I'm fully with it.
It like this city does like suck you in, and like no matter who you are, like it kind of makes itself your home. Like 'cause I didn't grow up here. I moved here when I was 18. The first, and then I moved away and came back. But
No,
like, yeah, if someone asked,
Tucson,
I think I'd say from Tucson.
there's something really, really special about it. I mean, I work two of the people that we hired to one of them to run our one of our companies is from Tucson, and then one of my head creative guy is also from Tucson as well. So it's I've known these people my almost my entire like growing up process and know them well enough to be like, would you like to be part of this thing with me in Los Angeles? So it's Tucson is there's a community in Tucson that is like anywhere like unlike anywhere else. Shit, hold on, let me turn off Slack. I forgot about that. Fuck, I do that every single fucking time I do one of these.
Dude,
Completely.
that is not the worst fuck up for like noise that has happened. Like I had
It'll,
a
it'll send you into PTSD. Like it'll give you like some real like if people use Slack in their day to day lives and then they hear that sound, it's like Pavlov's fucking bell with them. They're just like fuck, and they like have to like get back to work.
it's like this crazy anxiety too. Like when you get that notification, it's like something fucked up and I'm about to go broke. Like
So, dude, my entire like we have our Slack channel is we have a lot of clients, so it's like always constantly for each one of those things. Like it's just another messaging service that I think really works well for business. There's like a bunch of shit that like we do. We use Asana and Slack and shit like that. Where like I'm bad at it because I'm a punk kid from Tucson that somehow like managed to do all this shit, and then I had to like go in reverse and learn how to like do business stuff. So
how
it's
many
like
businesses, how many companies do you have now?
we have I have three. There's Emo Night, there's Rider Cry, and then there's Community Meeting, which I think is an LL. It doesn't really. I don't think it needs to be an LLC at this point. It might soon need to be, but it's not yet. It's just something else that I do. So it's like, but yeah, Rider Cry and Emo Night are both mine and TJ and Bab's companies. They're just two separate. They're like two separate entities that work like hand in hand with each other sometimes.
So I Emo Night came first. That's kind of where everything originated. Like how did that start?
Emo Night was so I worked in a creative agency in Los Angeles with TJ and Babs. They worked for a digital strategy company within that agency, and I didn't know them. I worked for the agency working in like experiential marketing and music videos, and I was hired as like a studio manager, which I'm terrible at. Like that means like getting Red Bulls and like answering the fucking phone. Like I'm just not good at that. It's like organizational shit where just I learned that that is not my strong suit. And so like after they figured that out, also they were like, you know what, you can start working on these other projects with us. But we worked in the same offices, and I would be in charge of the Sonos, and I would put on shit that I liked, and the rest of the office that worked there hated it. They were all like old metalheads, which is great because I am too, but they only wanted to listen to like Slayer or Metallica all day. So I would put the things that I grew up listening to on, like, all the emo shit. And TJ and Babs and I we formed a bond over that. And, this was 6 years ago. And 6 years ago in Los Angeles, it was really, really hard to like go anywhere and do anything that wasn't like top 40 radio. There wasn't really a place to go listen to like rock and roll music. There wasn't like, there was like butt rock bars on Hollywood Boulevard, but that's touristy shit. You know what I mean? That's just like, it's just not a place that like local people want to go for a community. And so we just decided, we're like, fuck it, let's just put together a playlist and we'll go to. I had a friend that ran this bar called the Shortstop in Los Angeles in Echo Park, and he gave us. We wanted to do it on Thursday nights, and he was like, "Yeah, nobody will go to that, so I'll give you a Tuesday." And it was like, we didn't have any sort of like advertising. We had no like digital presence whatsoever. It was just essentially word of mouth, and there were like hundreds of kids lined up around the block. And it was like one of those weird things where you're like, this is a surreal moment, but is it a fluke? And so we did it again, and then there was more kids lined up around the block. And so we tapped into something that was like, it was a need. It was a need for this community. I think just purely by seeing how many people showed up for the first and second one without there being anything around it, like no press, no PR, no, we didn't have any of the shit we did now. We just put out maybe an Instagram post and Facebook post on our personals, and that's it. That's really how it started. It was like incredibly
And
organic.
and it's become this kind of huge. It's not just even a company. It's not just even you guys. It's like almost like a. It's like almost like a, I don't know, a movement for lack of a better term. Like there are dozens, if not like hundreds, of these things that have popped up all over the country. I mean, you guys take yours out on tour and do like huge venues. Um, what do you think about the imitators? What do you think of like the little ones that have popped up?
You want to know what's funny is we used to really like be like shit, fuck, what are we gonna do? And we stopped paying attention to all of it because ultimately, like, we wanted to throw a party that we liked. Like, we want to have events that we like, and like by bringing like people like you on, you know what I mean? Who normally wouldn't necessarily be. You weren't in a famous emo band, but you are a fan of the genre, and so we do that with like actors and like people from the internet. Like we do all those things because it meant a lot to a lot of people, and we didn't want to be like not inclusive of that, and that was not what we wanted to do. So all the other ones that's fine. They're like, it's a fine thing, and the only one I actually do support is the Tucson one. The other ones I don't really like pay attention to or care about. um there is a really like funny sort of immature-ish like rivalry going on with like the New York one, because the dudes that started the New York one were my business partner TJ's college roommates, and so they saw us do it, and they were like, "Oh shit, we want to do that." The only negative thing that happens when other ones pop up is that I don't want to be associated with those because like they do lame shit, like they do cornball shit, like they're just like corny dudes. You know what I mean?
What,
Like
what's the corniest thing you've heard of at one of these things?
they just play air guitar and they don't let anybody on stage. They get like blackout drunk and like are dicks to people. Like it's just like it's not my vibe. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
not. It's not. Doesn't sound fun. It doesn't sound inclusive, and it just sounds like two broy dudes that want to like be, do this thing for like themselves and like not a community. And so like at first we were like fuck that, and now we don't. I haven't like paid attention to what those guys are doing in years. And I think it's like a testament because like, we were really precious about our brand and we were really precious about our company when we first started. And then we just realized that we just do the best. We're going to try and do the best that we can do in our space. And it doesn't really help us worrying about what anybody else is doing. And I never want to stop anybody from doing something. Like it's not our fucking place to say you can and can't do these things. Like anybody is allowed to do whatever they want. The only thing that bums me out is when like I said, like when it gets corny and like it groups me in there, and I don't want to be involved in any corny shit ever.
It is like a weird fine line between like not wanting to like fuck up someone else's thing without like trying to get them to fuck up what you're doing.
Yeah,
I think the one thing that really set you guys like off, and I think like blew you up too, is that exactly what you talked about. You had all these guest DJs come in. Who was the first one?
the first we had, dude, it's really fun. We just asked our friends at the first one, like, to come and play, like bands that, and like my buddy Cam from Teenage Wrist and the Chain Gang of 1974. We had, I had a dude that was like really prominent emo writer named Ian Cohen, who wrote for like Pitchfork, I think, or some shit, some garbage publication. You know what I mean? That like, but he was like the main dude over there writing about emo, and so we had like early guests like that, and then our first big one was what happened was we were reached out. We had to move venues because it got, the shortstop only could fit like 75 people in it, right? And you had like people on the block, and we wanted to get as many people in there as possible. And so we had to move to a different venue that held like 1,800 people. And so we're like, shit, we should reach out and start getting, see if we can get artists. And we reached out to Tyson Ritter from the All American Rejects, and he wasn't available, but his manager said, hey, Mark Hoppus might be available. And I was like, oh, yeah, that would be cool, man. Like, that would be awesome. Sure. Like, we're trying to like hold it together because like that dude is, that guy's like that guy to me at least is, and he's a legend. He's like an idol to me. And he came and did it, and he was our first like guest, actual like real guest DJ. And then, I mean, we've maintained a relationship until like a couple of days ago, I just put out a music video for Blink, and he did our Twitch stream and played a song that they never play live, and so it's like we've grown into this like really awesome relationship with some of these artists that we grew up listening to and like really really loving. So it's actually turned into something more than just having a guest artist there. But yeah, Mark Hoppus was the first dude to do it.
I mean, what's Mark Hoppus like? I gotta ask because like the same reason, like that dude's a legend to me. What's he actually like as a person?
He's exactly how you think he would be. He's like he's genuinely sweet. I wasn't feeling good. I thought I had the fucking thing. And he would text me like every day. I'd be like, how you doing? Like, what's going, and like, but also be super funny about it. He texted me, he's like, hey, if you need anything, just call Matt Skiba. He's like, don't call me, like he's just like super funny about shit, but like also like caring and like kind. And like, he's like, is there anything I can do how are you guys? Like, how are you guys surviving during this? Is there anything I can do? And like, I'm like, dude, you're just by being a part of this, you're helping, and you're helping. That's what you can do. People love you and they want to come and watch you do shit. So, but I don't have enough good shit to say about that guy.
That's so fucking cool to hear.
Like really, like not just because like he's like the guy. Like I would totally, like I've met a bunch of people who are fucking dicks that I just wouldn't have no problem just being like, yeah, that guy's a dick. But like Mark is honestly one of the greatest dudes I've met during this whole thing.
Who is the coolest person, or what's the coolest? Not even person, but like what's the coolest thing that you guys have done? Because some of these guests, it's like not even just like they're playing some songs or they're doing a DJ set. Like some of this shit's like a spectacle. Well, what's the coolest thing you guys have done?
It just depends. It's like individual, you know what I mean? Like it's an individual question because like we're supposed to be playing Coachella today, right? You know what I mean? Or yesterday we were supposed to play Coachella. And that to me was like fucking like, how cool is that? Like as a little kid, that's like the end all be all of like, if you play that, like you've made it as a fucking musician. And like, I don't play any instruments. Like we don't even know how to DJ, you know what I mean? Like, managed to like get on the bill on Coachella on a fucking big stage too, It's like it's totally weird like that. It's like this whole thing is very surreal and the coolest moment to me. But like some of the cooler moments are like, Jim Adkins came and played a couple songs, and my sister couldn't be there, and she's like the biggest Jimmy Eat World fan. And I get to do things like FaceTime my sister with Jim Adkins and have him say hello. Or same thing with like Chris Connolly, like backstage, like from Saves the Day. Like I got to just FaceTime my sister and be like, hey, like they wanted to say hi to you, and even though you can't be here. And so it's things like that, like recreating, like, the old Dashboard album that he did, the MTV Unplugged album. When we had him play our like 1 year anniversary, he it basically was the same thing as the MTV Unplugged. He invited everybody on stage. We all sat really close and we sang a bunch of songs. And I never thought in a million years that like I would be able to get to see that live. Like I never thought that I would be able to experience that album that I've listened to so many times, like live. And so it's things like that to me are the coolest thing. It's not like we sold out this many things, we did this many things. It's like those like moments that I really, really value to me are the coolest. Like I got to tell, there's like, I'm sober. I've been sober for like a little bit. And when I was in rehab, there was a day where I wanted to drink, but I also didn't want to drink. I didn't want to drink more than I did want to drink. And so what I did was I was listening to fucking Jack's Mannequin or something, like, and that thought came to my mind. And in that moment, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I was like, fuck, if I ever meet this dude, I'll tell him. I'll be like, hey, like, there was a moment where I was listening to your song, and it may have been something with your song, but it may not have been something with your song. But in that moment, I decided to not drink that day as opposed to drink that day. And it may have shaped the course of like who I am, forever. And Andrew McMahon, the dude that is in Jack's Mannequin and Something Corporate, played Emo Nite. And I got to tell him, that thing. And he was like, that's, it was like, I'm sure he hears it all the time. And by no means am I in any like special in any way, shape, or form. But it was just really cool to like think about that moment like 10 or 11 years ago and be like actually living that moment out that I did in my head. So it's things like that to me, which are the coolest parts about this whole experience.
You touched on something a couple minutes ago about the fact that you're supposed to be at Coachella right now. Mark Hoppus was checking up on you. I didn't really even think about it before that, but how is this whole coronavirus thing impacting like what you guys do? Which is like, I mean, you bring people together physically.
I mean, our main source of income is groups of 50 people or more, right? So it is a huge blow. It is a really, really, really big blow. But we're trying to do our best to transform those emo nights into online parties and online communities, and doing the same thing that we've been doing like in real life, but online, which there's a learning curve and a really, 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 we had to do it in a really, really like short time crunch. But I think we're just starting to get the hang of it. It's like we join every Tuesday and Friday on Twitch for an hour and a half. We have guests, we play songs, we do skit shit, we do our intro videos, we do pretty much, we try and run it the same way as we run our events. And we do like background visuals, we release merchandise at that time. And, that is a whole different beast, dude, because that thing needs to be produced. It needs to be ran on the back end. It's different is what it is, but it's like, it's how we're adjusting, and we've got a bunch of other shit that we're figuring out too on like how to adjust, because we can't do live shows now. We can't fucking leave our houses now, it's really strange. But yeah, there was a lot of fear in the first couple of weeks for sure.
I mean, I'm glad to hear that you're adapting. And it's gotta be so weird. I mean, what's the actual like sensation of like putting an online party together? Like, what is that? What's the, I don't know, vibe, for lack of a better term?
You know what? I thought it was going to be really weird. And then when you have everybody like commenting on the side, like it's really engaging and it's really interactive. Like, people can vote on like which songs next. Like we do after parties on a different app where like everybody like gets their fucking White Claws ready on like the Emo Night Twitch, and then they want to move to the after party on this other app. And we let, some of our other affiliates from other Emo Nights take that over. And, like you were saying, like we do have a lot of Emo Nights popping up all over the place, but a lot of those are ours. We're in 35 cities all across America that we have groups of people that we went and met and sort of trained on how to throw an event, how we expect an event to be thrown. And now they're part of our team. So we don't have to like fly every fucking week to go do it in Omaha or Texas. We've got teams of people to do it for us, but we make sure that those parties stay true to like what we believe in. And the same thing with our online parties is like, we're going to make it look and feel and try and be as much of our personality as possible without being there in real life. And I think that we're working out the kinks, but I think we're all working out the kinks in this world together, because would you be doing this if it wasn't for the quarantine? Is this something you were doing before?
I did like 4 episodes before, and it just kind of sat there, and I didn't do shit with it. So
Yeah.
no, not to this, not really.
Yeah, so like we're all like adjusting, and we're all like learning how to like figure out how to keep us, at least for me, like we're entertainers, I think, at this point I think that that's what we are. And so my job is to keep people entertained, and figuring out new ways to do that. I think pushing it into the digital space is something that was going to happen eventually. We just got a little swift kick in the ass to do it. So I do believe that in the long run, this will be beneficial and it will help us as a company. It's just getting to a place where it feels where we're comfortable with it, and like figuring out how to actually make money off of it and how to pay our employees and pay ourselves. And, right now we're just figuring shit out. So, but I mean, I also think that the world is going to benefit from this thing too. It's teaching us a lot of shit that we didn't know we needed, that we didn't know we were unprepared for, that we didn't know our neighbors, that we didn't know our fucking, we didn't know how to take care of each other. And, unfortunately it takes something like this to make us realize that,
How important is it? On that note, how important is it, do you think, for people to be entertained right now with all this shit going on?
Dude, it's probably like, I mean, I couldn't imagine. We were just talking about this with we do like a company meeting every Monday and Thursday, and we were just talking about like, imagine if the internet didn't exist when this happened. It's like, what the fuck would we be doing? And like it reverts back to like when I was like a little kid and that we did not have the internet. And like I'm getting this like really weird nostalgic feeling like of when it's summertime and your parents can't drive you anywhere or take you to do anything and you're stuck in the house. And you know what I mean? Like I'm just like finding shit to do. It's like, and now I've got like I scheduled this and like I've been on the fucking computer and on the phone all day figuring this shit out. And like, the workday is like kind of almost done. It's almost like fucking, it's not almost done, but it's like almost 6. And I made a really full day for myself. I've scheduled shit to do. I like schedule time to take a dog for a walk. Like I'll spend more time like making food as opposed to like ordering food. Like filling up the days for me is a little bit difficult. I get super fucking antsy around 4 to 7. So like I think entertainment is an absolute necessity to keep people from going fucking nuts.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, the one thing that like I was just thinking about listening to you talk about that, I was like, yeah, it's like people get fucking antsy. People actually go fucking nuts sometimes when they're by themselves. And
Yeah, they do.
I think having entertainment, especially like community based entertainment, like what you guys are doing, where you're bringing people together, that's so fucking important to keep people from possibly doing something really bad.
Well, dude,
You
it's
know,
well, check this out. Like, it's really cool because we get that chat feature. So now all these people that never like these are emo nights where anybody can go. It's not one specific city and it's not one specific day. You know what I mean? It's like if you want to go to an emo night and experience it with other people, now you get to go and talk to other like-minded people in the chat and you get to form friendships. And we're always like, drop your fucking drop your handles, drop all this shit so you guys can stay in contact with each other. And, I think that to me, and that's always been the most important part about it is bringing people together. And so I think that in a lot of ways that entertainment that we're doing is hopefully serving a bigger purpose than just us playing songs on the internet.
there's probably you're gonna hear some like crazy shit by the end of this. You're gonna get some email that's like, "Oh, I met my fiance at your, Twitch Zoom emo night during the coronavirus."
We've had so many engagements on stage, so many
Really?
proposals. Yeah, we've had so many proposals. Dude, we've had people that met at emo night have gotten married and have had kids already. Like, so
You guys have been going for what, 6, 7
yeah, this is
years
our
now?
6th year.
Yeah.
So it's like people have met. It's like when we first started, like there were people that would show up with signs that say like "Emo Night saved my life" because like we've heard stories about people that were like gonna fucking blow their brains out, and then they heard about Emo Night and they're like, I'm just gonna go to that instead. And then they found their group of people, right? They felt alone in the world, and then they found their group of people. And like I'll pound this into anybody's head. It's like it's not the success of Emo Night that makes me happy. It's shit like that that makes me happy, right? Like that's why we continuously keep doing it.
That's got to be absolutely fucking incredible. Just to like be a part of and to have started something that like has that kind of impact and like brings that kind of like happiness to people.
It doesn't feel real is the thing. Like it doesn't feel real. Like it's not like we never planned it. And I think that like if you go into anything with good intentions, hopefully you'll see the fruits of your labor. Like we never started it as promoters. We never started it to make money. And we still don't. They still, it's nice to be able to pay ourselves and it's nice to be able to pay our employees. But ultimately, like we don't do it for that. And I think that if at any given point we were to start doing it for that, it would lose its charm and the company would fail. And I think honestly, that's kind of where we were saying in the beginning. You're like, well, what about the other emo nights? And I'm like, I think they see an opportunity to make a quick buck and dip out, whereas we like think of this as a lifetime thing. Like emo night will evolve into something different over time, just because of who Babs and TJ and I are. We're always constantly changing and we're always constantly evolving. There's always constantly new music. There's constantly new bands. There's constantly new shit to talk about, new people to see, new places to go, dude. And we never want to live in the past. We are a nostalgia-based party, but I think that by going to our party, you'll see that we're very, very current and in the present. Where I think a lot of the other parties are like, put on skinny jeans and swoopy hair, and we're just not about it. We're just not about that.
That was like a thing that struck me when you guys invited me out to the one you did here was I think in my head almost there was like an idea is like people are gonna like dress up and like this is gonna be just like this entirely like nostalgia based thing, and yeah, it's rooted in like nostalgia and like that feeling, I guess. But you guys were playing contemporary music. You were playing just like fucking pop music from like different decades at times. Like, I mean, I think it was really like it's about trying to figure out like what that common thing that all these people in a room have in common, and then just having fun from there. And that like really struck me as how
Well,
different it
we
was.
wanted to throw a fun party that's based on emo, right? Like that's all we want to do. Like if you ever come to the ones in LA, like dude, we have interactive photo booths. We have people that are like, we had like robots dressed up, walked around. We had a DeLorean, like we had like fucking magicians. We've had like operas, like everything, dude. We've done everything in our power to make it like awesome. We've flown a plane over Los Angeles, like fucking, we've had Post Malone and Demi Lovato and all these people come out just to like be a part of something fun. And I think that is what, when you look at emo night, you go, we want people to go, that is fun, and I want to go to that, regardless of if I know all the songs. And hopefully, my goal for this thing is like, if you go and you don't know all the songs, you learn some more shit. You hear some different songs that you didn't know, and you start looking into new bands. You start looking into old bands. Like all these young kids that are like 18 didn't grow up listening to what I grew up listening to. So now I get to like share like the Get Up Kids and Saves the Day and Sunny Day Real Estate and fucking Mineral with all these kids that like maybe have heard those samples in a Lil Peep song, but they didn't know where it came from. And so like it's really cool to see like younger kids become fans of older shit because of emo night.
That was actually another thing that struck me. The one I did with you guys was, I mean, there were people that were like, they would have been fucking infants when a lot of like that music, if they were even like, infants, they would have been like 3 years old when like that music was like popular and around and being created. And like some of them clearly were fans of it, and some of them were like there just to have something to do. And it was it. Yeah, it was. And the thing is, because anyone could walk in there and just have a great time. Like, I don't think you would need to know a damn song on that playlist throughout the course of the evening.
What's really cool is like most people do know one or two songs, like no matter what, because like we do play like some radio fucking hits, right? So like you do go in there and you go, I do know this song. And then you see all these people fucking freaking out to that song and you go, I didn't realize that this many people like that song in this way, where they're like singing to a song where there's not any instruments playing and there's just a ton of people on stage. And it's just like, I want to throw a fucking circus, dude. Like I want every place to look so wrecked by the time we leave that like, it's like that's, I thrive in chaos,
One of the things I thought was really fucking cool about it was that there's like none of it is done with like any sense of irony either. Like, and I think it broke, like being in that room breaks down walls with some of these people. Because it's like, I remember like Avril Lavigne came on at one point and you had a bunch of like bro ass dudes like singing along without like a hint of irony. Like they weren't laughing. Like they were just like, everyone was into it. So it was okay for them to be into it. And that was like maybe the first time they got to admit in public that, that song's great.
That's like what I like, right? Yeah, everybody let their guard down. And there's no separation between like artist and fan. Like we let everybody on stage. And, we have the most respectful crowd and the most respectful audience I've ever seen. I've ever seen. Like there have been maybe like one or two fights in 6 years at an event that happens a couple of times a week and is a very heavy drinking night, very heavy drinking night. So it's like we, it just is a testament to show that this music was a positive thing in people's lives. I think that there's a lot, like I think if emo night ever ends, I think there's going to be a lot of things that came out about that it did more good. I hope that it comes out that it did more good than just throwing a party. I think it's like, after being so in it, it's really hard for me to see, but just the fact that like we've had babies come out of emo night, people have not killed themselves because they've gone to emo night. We've gotten new bands that have formed because they've met at emo night. We've formed some really, really great memories for a lot of people. And I think that, that's the legacy that I want, as opposed to being like me and TJ and Babs threw a party.
I mean, you arguably threw the greatest party in the, at least in the country, if not the world. So
I hope so. We're trying, and we do with what we can, right? Like we take all the money that we get from the other nights and put it back into it. So we can like pay people to come and fly them out to DJ. So we can fucking fly to Tucson to do this shit. So we can, pay people to help us make background visuals to make it more entertaining while people are there. So we can, we put everything we have into making this a cool party for everybody. I think it just goes to show like that, if you work really, really hard and you believe in something and your intentions are good, like that's that. Like that's it, like we didn't mean to do it, but we took hopefully every next right indicated step. And we made some mistakes along the way, 100%. But like, I think we're in a really comfortable place right now with knowing who Emo Nite is.
We're getting towards the end of the program, and I like to ask the same question to everybody who comes on here. And you were kind of, I think, maybe hitting on it a little bit, but through everything you've done, through this whole ride you've been on, what's the thing that you most want to convey to other people, like either through the experience or what's in the back of your head? What's most important to you about it all?
The most important thing to me is when two people don't know each other and then they meet each other at Emo Nite and then they become friends. Like they form a bond over something that they didn't know that they had a bond over. And then I see them together, like on social media, like being friends and interacting with each other. And because, dude, like depression is the opposite of connection, right? And so, like, if we can connect as many people as possible, like, hopefully we can form some really, really great, long-lasting relationships with people, and have them form long-lasting relationships with people, and have show each other how to communicate in a world where LA is very much like this. Like when you like go to a place and you watch a band, LA is very much like stand there and don't move. And I've never seen a group of people like form a community themselves without any instruction as Emo Nite. And I think that is what the most important thing to me is.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Morgan. That's Tuesdays and Fridays at what time?
6 p.m. on Twitch. It's just emonite.tv.
Emonite.tv. Tuesdays and Fridays. Thank you so much for coming on.
Dude, thank you for having me.
I'll see you when we're allowed out of our houses.
I'm going to try, dude. You know what? And if this all fails, I'm going to move back to Tucson, so I'll be seeing a lot more of you.
There you go. All right.
All right.
I'll see you back in the desert, man.
All right. Stay safe.
Hey, you too.
Do I just close this?